We're the Young Indie Chroniclers podcast, and we're producing a new feature-length documentary, George Lucas, The Lost Golden Age.
George Lucas was going to do this Lawrence of Arabia scale epic on a 16-millimeter budget.
You got a chance to have the same adventure making the show as what Indy was doing.
His stuff is really quite political.
You didn't think I was going to run, did you?
I learned that when George says he wants to ultimately change or fix something, that he was going to do it.
We built a Kickstarter campaign to support the film. Late pledges are available now at Kickstarter.com.
Hello there. Welcome to Force Ghost Conversations. This podcast is your home for cozy deep dives into all things Star Wars and Lucasfilm adjacent properties. This is your host, Anthony King, and each week I will be joined by fans, creators, and believers in the principles from the galaxy far, far away to discuss the thematical elements from our favorite Lucasfilm properties. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, fresh from our D23 experiences. I hope you enjoyed our special episode this week featuring our thoughts and musings directly from the show floor over in Anaheim. And we are here today to do a more deeper discussion and conversation into the news and announcements that specifically happened over the course of the weekend as it pertains to the Star Wars and Lucasfilm adjacent galaxy. And we are joined by a guest, and that guest is none other than Jen Sopchockchai Bankard from the Long Take Review. But also, I want to give a shout out to Jen because she just became a Patreon supporter for Force Ghost Conversations at the Wampa level. So thank you very much, Jen, for your patronage. I hope you enjoy the extra content that we have available on the platform. And it's a pleasure to have you both on the show for this and a part of our larger community that we're building over there. And folks, if you want to become a part of the Patreon team, there's a link in the episode description, and for as little as for $1 a month you can get access to a ton of Force Ghost Conversations related goodies. And if you go to the $3 tier, the Wampa level, like such as Jen, you get an extra episode of the podcast a month. But it's not really about Star Wars. Sometimes it's about whatever I frankly want to talk about. So for example, in last month's, and I guess the month of August, we're still in August. In this month's episode, we do a deep dive discussion into the Doomsday trailer, the recent one that came out in July. And now, of course, there's another one that came out in D23, and we talk about that a little bit during the episode here, as well as the Marvel of it all. So, folks, that is a wonderful thing. So go check it out. And of course, we also have our TeePublic store. So if you want Force Ghost Conversations related merchandise, etc., that's all there as well. So a quick roundup of some of the other news that took place in the Star Wars galaxy before we get into D23, because you just can't release all of it at one event there. So there was, of course, the trailer poster for Ahsoka and release date, the season 2. We got the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu Blu-ray and 4K release, which apparently also has the IMAX ratio on it too, from those that have gotten it a little early. There has also been the announcement that on September 2nd, the film will premiere on Disney Plus alongside a podcast series that will give some more deep dive insights from John and Dave into the making of the series, or not the series per se, but I would rather elevate that to the movie. So I'm sure you'll get some insights into how the series is made, but otherwise, more so about the movie. And that will also come out the same time as the Lego Star Wars The Mandalorian special will premiere on Disney Plus as well. So, in addition, there was also the release of Star Wars The Ninth Jedi. So that's now on Disney Plus, the long form series from the one couple shorts on Star Wars Visions Volume 1 and 3. So excited to talk about that. We'll probably get to that in next week's episode. So be on the lookout for more details as we get closer to that. And additionally, I wanted to note a unique Star Wars and Marvel crossover series that's coming out very soon here, it looks like. Will be written by Kevin Smith, the 5-issue limited series kind of coinciding with the 50th anniversary of A New Hope in 2027. This looks great. Looks like it's called Hope Assembles. And it's all the covers are just really cool, featuring like Vader and Doom, and I just see Stormtroopers and Greedo and Ultron. Luke Skywalker and Captain America and the Hulk and Spider-Man. I mean, this isn't canon, of course, but who knows what like fun antics this will get into. It's just a celebratory thing for all things Star Wars and Marvel as well. So if you're a fan of both properties, this will certainly be wonderful for everybody. Oh, it looks like it's going to premiere in the first issue will launch in January 2027. So make sure you get that at your local comic shop wherever you can. That looks awesome. I can't wait to see more of it later. So, folks, that is all the news that I had for this week. Let's get into our larger discussion about the D23 Ultimate Fan event and the Star Wars and Lucasfilm announcements with Jen Sopchockchai Bankard. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another installment of Force Ghost Conversations. We have made it back to our humble abodes, wherever we may be across the galaxy, and we are finally able to settle in and talk about all the things that happened at D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan event over the past week. And while I was there, we also had a friend in the neighborhood, so to speak, who did come down to the Anaheim area to hang out for a little bit. And that, of course, is our guest for today's episode, which is none other than Jen Sopchockchai Bankard from the Long Take Review podcast. Jen, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I have to say it was lovely to meet you in person, finally. It was absolutely
indeed
delightful.
Yes, I echo that sentiment as well. It was great to actually confirm that we are real humans outside of these boxes that we're currently looking at on our recording platform here, which is always a fun treat to be like, yes, we do exist outside of the internet space. We are real humans, and it was an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you, and also to lock eyes with Lin-Manuel Miranda at the same time and try to get like Jen's attention subtly as he's walking past in his red jumpsuit, where he's clearly like, I don't want to be noticed and recognized at all. I am very tired. I just got off the plane probably from New York City and drove an hour from LAX to Anaheim, and I'm tired and want to go to bed. And I'm like, Jen, Lin.
You were being very, very subtle, too subtle, possibly.
Yes.
Because I was like, what?
I tried to play it cool.
But I'm really glad I realized what you were trying to tell me in time for me to look up and be like, oh yes, that is him. That is the author of the Scuttlebutt. I have to reference that for Greg's sake.
Yes. What's the song again? Welcome to the Scuttle. Here's the Scuttlebutt. Something like that.
I think it's just called Scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt. Yep. The aforementioned Aquafina Lin-Manuel Miranda song from the new live, or I guess still fairly new live action Little Mermaid film from a couple years ago. Plus, he did that other one that I think is actually really good that doesn't get talked about as much in that movie, aside from the Scuttlebutt, but that's for probably more negative reasons that it's talked about. There's that other one that Ariel has where she has like a song in her head when she can't talk.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's a really good song that just gets overshadowed by the absurdity, perhaps, of the Scuttlebutt.
I had my kids watch some of the Disney Legends ceremony that was streaming on Disney Plus,
Nice.
and they got excited when they heard the Scuttlebutt in the mashup medley musical number.
Did they like seeing him read from a VHS case?
They did have to ask me what that was.
I was going to ask, yeah. Did they get a good? Do you have one at the house still to like you can pull out and be like, here you go, children. Here's the relic of my past.
Right. I definitely would have had that one. So I did a Leo pointing at the TV meme in front of them where I was like, the VHS case I had that. And they were like, what are you talking about, Mom? So,
and you're like, kids.
Once I explained it, they appreciated it.
You have it so easy these days. You can just live stream things directly from YouTube or Disney Plus, wherever we have our streaming platforms that we have now. Back in my day, you had to watch commercials. Maybe you recorded something off of TNT onto a VHS, so you had it, but then you had to fast forward through the commercials if you watched it again. Or you went to a rental place that may or may not have said film that you were wanting to watch. Maybe it was, sold out because, that was a thing that would happen. A new DVD would come out on a Tuesday, and then, they only had so many copies, and if it's a popular thing, maybe it was gone. And 2-day rentals at that point too, right? Not even the 7-day, perhaps. Oh, we had it different back then. I'll tell you what.
Yes. Just a second, I said, when I was your age, Netflix didn't exist, YouTube didn't exist. They just looked at me like impossible.
Impossible. It's crazy to think that I think Netflix started maybe in the early 2000s with its DVD and maybe VHS, at least DVD at that point. But yeah, YouTube's only like 2006. So it's just hitting 20 years now of being a thing, which is kind of crazy. I was actually just watching Doctor Strange before we hopped on here and kind of was thinking in the back of my head, like, in 2028, Marvel is, the MCU is 20 years old. Like, oh,
Wow.
Ooh, that's like 1977 to 97 for Star Wars, or that's special edition time release. Like, oh boy, I've been alive for all of it here. Oh, existential thoughts and crises happened for a little moment there. But anywho, we are here to.
But Disney timeless, right?
Yes. Timeless as always. And speaking of Disney and timeless things here, we're here to talk about D23, recap it a little bit now that we've had some time to sit with it here. Jen, you didn't actually go to the convention itself, but you were in the Anaheim area when you did hang out with me on Saturday night. How did it feel being in the Disney bubble while all that was happening? Because while we were having dinner, the parks panel was happening concurrently over at the Honda Center. And you saw people in and out with their badges. And obviously we saw Lynn at the Grand Californian, and it was just a big celebratory moment of Disney. How did you feel just entering into this bubble, not probably knowing what to expect?
It felt great. There was definitely an energy. I try to go to the parks or downtown Disney like a few times a year at least, and there are definitely times when it's much more busy than others. This had a really good energy, sort of similar to when I've been there during Celebration, Star Wars Celebration. When it's there, it just it feels like there are more people who from out of town. And you can kind of feel the difference a little bit in terms of the crowd, as opposed to for those of you who don't know the area, especially that downtown Disney area, that you don't have to have a ticket to the parks to visit. It is kind of like, for most people who are locals, just a mall. At one point, I think there was a Jamba Juice. I don't think it's there anymore, but there's a Sephora. No. You know what I mean? Like, they're normal mall stores kind of mixed in with all the Disney
There's
stuff.
definitely a Lululemon now. So yeah, it definitely fits that bill more.
Yeah. So it on a normal day, not a D23 day, it definitely feels a little bit different. But it was nice. I got it as close. It was a little absurd. I got as close to D23 without actually going to D23.
That's right.
But I'll take it. I couldn't actually go, so I'll take the next best thing.
Yeah, I second that sentiment there. It's truly a wonderful bubble to be in, right? It's like, second to none I think there's so much vitriol on the internet when it comes to these things that people really like, whether it's Disney, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, DC, right? Usually the algorithms put forth and push the more negative, nuanced takes on things, right? Everything is either the absolute best or the worst, and there's really no place for a good discussion within there. And that's just the way it works on those platforms. And then you get to these places here, whether it be a Celebration or a D23, and you're actually with normal people that isn't the internet. You're actually engaging and seeing people doing all these cool cosplays and having warm, interesting conversations in line while you're waiting for the panels that you're going to be seeing, or you're going into different pavilions and they're showcasing the cool stuff that's going on, and you see the vastness of everything that's happening within these brands that people really enjoy and love and appreciate, and it makes you center yourself in some way that's like, oh wow, this is kind of me touching grass in some way. I am not plugged into this negativity space on the internet, but I'm actually embracing a positive atmosphere here and seeing that there is life beyond what the internet is trying to project on me here, which I think is a great thing. And of course, D23, because it's now on the opposite years of Star Wars Celebration, which we'll have in 2027, just a few months here, it allows D23 to be its own thing, and they can make separate announcements there without feeling the fear of Star Wars Celebration either just happening before or after it, or being very close by it in terms of proximity there. And I will say probably the biggest thing, arguably, that they announced at D23, particularly on Friday, was the actual release date for Ahsoka Season 2 coming in January 20, 2027. So just a very few short months away from the time of release here. Plus, we got a teaser trailer for Ahsoka Season 2. Now, Jen, I see the Ahsoka poster behind you. I know this is a character that you have very fond feelings towards and fond memories of over the years. What stood out to you in this trailer? What are you most looking forward to? Was there anything that challenged you? What do you think about this teaser?
Well, I'd say that the teaser, what struck me most about the teaser and what got me the most excited probably was the emphasis on Anakin and Ahsoka and the return of what seemed to be more Clone Wars live action flashbacks. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I would have expected that. I thought that might have been a one and done situation from the first season. And I wasn't necessarily being like, oh, I wonder what we're going to see from the Clone Wars. And I just assumed that Ariana Greenblatt is like off doing another Barbie movie or something. Like that, you know what I mean? Like
something else, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't have that on my bingo card at all. And so to see that be not only in the trailer, but to really be the focal point of the trailer, because we have Hayden Christensen's voiceover guiding us through the whole thing. It's really tying everything that we see together. And to see a scene in which young Ahsoka, played by Ariana Greenblatt, and Anakin fighting, I was just like, whoa, like what is, I didn't expect this, but I am absolutely delighted that this is here, and that this seems to be, it could be a misdirect in terms of like, because oftentimes teasers show something from like the first episode of a new season, or what I mean, like it tries.
Yeah, I
to
bet we didn't see anything like in episode 8,
like a couple of episodes. Yeah, so it could be that like this is kind of overblowing how the proportions of how much this is going to be, but just the fact that we have any of it at all, I think is wonderful, because I think that episode, I believe it's episode. Oh no, I shouldn't have started saying this because I'm going to get it wrong. I believe it's episode 5. Like
it is 5.
We get Ahsoka the White, and as the result of the going into what I believe is the world between worlds, and and her going through those flashbacks and facing Anakin and kind of coming out the other side. That is my favorite episode from the first season, and
Hard
I think the Clone Wars flashbacks in live action. Granted, like you could sort of argue that it's just fan service, but at the same time, I thought it was serving the story really well in terms of building Ahsoka's character arc for that season. And to me, as a Clone Wars fan and a longtime Ahsoka fan, it was just a treat. And so the fact that they're willing to kind of bring that back and maybe make that a staple of the show every season, obviously we don't know how many seasons we're getting,
right?
Right? Like this could be it. It could be 2 of 2.
It could be,
but I don't know. So, but what did you think?
Look, this podcast is called Force Ghost Conversations, and we got a Force Ghost conversation in the trailer. So automatically a 10 out of 10. And frankly, in the 5 years now that we've been doing this podcast, this is the second time that I've counted that there was an actual Force Ghost conversation in a Star Wars, with the first being in Obi-Wan Kenobi with Qui-Gon Jinn returning for just a few brief seconds. And then we saw Anakin at the end of Ahsoka season 1 there, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. There's a strong chance. If he appears again, we know season 2 is coming. And now we got official confirmation. So I think it was awesome. I don't know what that dark Jedi, maybe rogue Jedi, perhaps, what that lightsaber is. So he's got like that middle piece there. It doesn't seem too practical in terms of how to actually use the lightsaber, but I'm sure we'll get some cool action with that in that flashback sequence there. It was kind of nice. We might have gotten the confirmation that Ariana Greenblatt would be back, but prior to this, but definitely the spoiler perhaps of seeing the costumes Friday morning at the Lucasfilm Pavilion for sure confirmed that there was going to be some flashbacks. So it's nice seeing it in context, because then it helped when I'm hanging around the pavilion Saturday and Sunday then to look at these artifacts and props with different set of eyes, right? No Loth balls in the trailer at this point. Maybe the next one. Definitely in the show. We'll see them. They were prominently on display at D23 at the Lucasfilm Pavilion. And Thrawn, right? A lot of Thrawn in this, a lot of Night Sisters as well. So it seems like those are going to be like some of the driving forces of his dark side resurgent Empire army that's coming back from Peridia, and it's going to wreak havoc on the galaxy. I mean, he's literally declaring war. I'm wondering how they'll talk through that one, right? Does the New Republic get involved? Do they not get involved? What's the politics of that? Because seemingly they shouldn't get involved. That's what we know from canon. So it'll be interesting to see how it all kind of plays out there. And
his word choice is very interesting too.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
He declares war on the Rebel Alliance and not the New Republic.
That's
Obviously,
right.
that could just be because he hasn't been
He doesn't
around
know.
for the New Republic. He hasn't gotten the memo. No one sent him a memo about the name change and the rebranding. But it is, if you wanted war in your Star War, this is it.
I think what I think someone asked Hayden that in the press junket after they announced the trailer and gave the cool poster and all that too. They were like, what do you expect what should we expect in season 2? And I think it's like, well, it's a big war and it's in the stars, a Star War, if you will. I think was paraphrasing roughly the quote there, which I think is going to be great. But, at the trailer kind of pre-hype show that I want to call the Ahsoka special look back panel that they had with Iman Esfandi, the character that plays Ezra in the show. He was teasing that, hey, bigger, better, more intense kind of thing. Everything's taken to the max. So, hey, if this is kind of the end of an era of these big budget kind of TV shows, these prestige-esque movies over the course of 8 episodes, these $250 budgets on Disney Plus for these types of big event endeavors, hey, sign me up for it. I don't know if we'll ever get that Filoni movie that they teased at Celebration London a few years ago. I mean, always in motion the future is, and we'll have to see how Starfighter performs. I think maybe the Mandalorian and Grogu added to that conversation a little bit there. I don't know. Obviously, new transition in leadership that maybe wasn't the case back then when those things were announced. So there's certainly some more conversations to be had in the future, and maybe looking towards 2027 Celebration for a bit more of those. But I wanted to ask you specifically, the trailer ends with Anakin being like, so what are you right now? Are you a Jedi or are you not? And I'm curious, what do you think about how that question is just asked and posed there? Do you think, Ahsoka is going to say all right, I'm a Jedi now, or is she not? Because I don't want to speak for you. Go ahead. What do you think?
So for a long time, I've had an issue with the live action Mandoverse because of the use of the word Jedi in relationship to Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. And I found a way to kind of rationalize it and make it make sense to me. But I think when in that first episode, which I believe is titled The Mandalorian, the
definitely
Jedi,
the Jedi. Yeah.
The Jedi. It's just called the Jedi. Yes.
15 or whatever, the Jedi. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was both of them mentioned in there. But I think in the actual episode, they use a phrase that's like that, like a Mandalorian and a Jedi. How does that work? That's crazy. But the use of that term and seemingly all the characters in the Mandoverse just presuming that Ahsoka is a Jedi, for me as someone who has been with Ahsoka through all the animated series, Clone Wars and Rebels, was like, wait a minute. I wanted to wag my finger and be like, that's not quite right. She does no longer identifies as a Jedi. And to me, it was like, well, if you're one of the last Jedi ever floating around and if you were one of the last Force users floating around the galaxy and you show up and you have a lightsaber and you're using the Force, okay, sure. Everyone else is probably going to assume that you're a Jedi and not question it.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how I've made sense of that choice to not go into that detail and nuance. But I was actually kind of excited that seemed to be the punctuation of this teaser trailer, because to me that seems like they're actually, first of all, actually going to get into it, right? That Anakin and Ahsoka will actually openly talk about her leaving the Jedi Order and how she feels how she herself views herself in relationship to the Jedi Order. Does she identify as a Jedi? Does she regret leaving the Jedi Order? All that stuff. So I'm excited to see where that goes. And then this idea that her character arc in this second season would be yes, she did leave the Jedi Order. She was disillusioned, but can she find a way to come back and make it her own? Sort of in the way that she talks about Sabine's Force powers, right? And saying that you don't need to follow being all the things that Jedi usually do. You just need to be you, right? And so I think there's an opening there for her to kind of be like, I'm going to call myself a Jedi once again, but make it new, like which is a thing that we've been waiting for, with Rey, with Ahsoka, like how can we reforge and revive the Jedi Order in a way that makes sense in the franchise in this part of the timeline. So I think it's exciting.
I agree. I think it'll be good to have a definitive, at least a more conversation on what is a Jedi, right? Does it mean that you're following the dogmatic practices of the Jedi Order that previously existed, or does it mean you're creating something new? And I know Baylan Skoll said something in season 1 that was like, these are offshoot branches of rogue Jedis or something like that. It's all in the season 1. You can, folks listening can track that down what the actual quote is. But yeah, and then Luke's off creating his own, story, or he's his own new temple and his new order over there. But like, does he have the orthodoxy, I guess, behind it? To like, who gives him the authority to say like, yeah, this is the new Jedi versus what someone else might start up on a whole other side of the galaxy? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to really have some of that defined. And I know Dave Filoni has kind of like appreciated the fact that Ahsoka has been like this Ronin character of sorts, just does good around the galaxy where she can, and now is like this Gandalf kind of Ahsoka, the white figure that's just trancing around too and helping out accordingly. Now that she's had this kind of rebirth after that run-in with Force Ghost Anakin in Ahsoka season 1, so be really interesting. Again, yeah, like I'm excited. We'll obviously probably get another trailer or two before the series formally comes out, probably some more narrative in that trailer about what specifically will go on, but there's a lot in here. I mean, Hu Yang with doing his best Grievous impression as well. Shin Hati in there, of course. Baylan Skoll, brief glimpse with Rory McCann too, as the recast Baylan Skoll. A lot of Night Sisters. I mean, geez, great actions from them so far in that sequence. Ezra looks like he's running into action with some sort of rebel group there, or New Republic group at that point. Hera with like the crew. I know there's Kaz's dad there and some others in the midst. We got the hug with Zeb and Ezra finally. So it looks like it's going to be great. I'm excited for it. And January 20th it comes out on Disney Plus. But that same entertainment panel, there was a little bit for Starfighter. They did bring out Ryan Gosling and director Sean Levy on the stage. Now, there was a little bit of footage shown that you and I may or may not have seen that was perhaps leaked on the internet. So we won't talk about it in entirety because it is unofficially released. So, take that as you will, wink, wink. But we did get confirmation that Ryan Gosling's character is named Cade Oberon, if that's correct pronunciation of that. And he also had this cool jacket on, which had like the Rebel insignia flipped around to look like a pirate's head kind of thing. Did this move the needle for you in terms of your anticipation for Starfighter at all?
I think it did not a ton, because I was actually already pretty on board. I think that I have a lot more faith than my co-hosts on the Long Take Review in Sean Levy. Big fan of Deadpool.
They need to rewatch Cheaper by the Dozen, I guess.
Sure. And I love Ryan Gosling, and it's hard to argue with the power of Ryan Gosling after Project Hail Mary, right? And I think he has,
and Barbie as well, right? He's got that star power.
Absolutely. But I mean, Project Hail Mary gets us closer to Star Wars, I think, in terms of genre. You know what I mean? So it's like that gave me even more faith that I'm like, okay, I think he can do this. And so I was already kind of like intrigued. And honestly, just the fact that it is like almost entirely an unknown quantity and seems to be not attached to anything we've previously gotten in Star Wars, that alone is enough to get me on the hook, where I'm like, I just want to see what this is all about, right? And so I think the stuff coming out of D23 seemed to just reinforce my interest in it, as opposed to sort of moving the needle in any substantial way. I mean, that jacket looked really cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, how many people are going to be cosplaying that at Celebration?
Right. Or just like, how much is that going to cost Disney Store? Like, just tell me now. What I mean? Can you make it in every size? Can you, and I also appreciated all of the internet content that came out of it, where people were sort of saying maybe Ryan Gosling makes his his decisions entirely based on what kind of cool jacket he's gonna get, and then there was like
Right.
collages of the cool jackets he's had over the years for different projects. So I thought it was great. I am excited that we still don't know a whole lot, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like I'm actually kind of happy to be in this space where I know Ryan Gosling's in it. Now we know that there's like the crazy pirate rebel alliance symbol thing, right? Like that seems cool, but it's just vibes at this point.
Totally.
There's nothing concrete about over explaining what this is and what it's going to be. And actually, I'm pretty happy about that.
There's enough time for it later,
Yeah.
I would definitely 100% guarantee that we'll have a trailer by the time a little film called Avengers Doomsday comes out, because it'll be attached to that. And then that'll be the perfect marketing cycle for then it to have its day in the sun. But that's the thing is, right, this is D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan Event, and this was unveiled at the entertainment panel, which also is comprised of everything else underneath the Disney umbrella that's getting showcased there. So you're talking Pixar that's saying stuff about Coco 2 and The Incredibles 3, and the Disney Animation Studio that's also pumping out, a little film called Frozen 3 in the next couple of years, and bringing that cast out on stage and showing some footage from that, as well as Marvel, again, dropping some Vision Quest trailer, as well as the previously unreleased San Diego Comic-Con teaser for Avengers Doomsday, but then formally released it and sent it out to everybody and said, hey, tickets are on sale now. Go get them before we got to get the one leg up on Dune here, which seemingly has worked in their favor. I mean, golly, it looks like they're knocking. I think Warner Brothers is now regretting what they've done at this point, seeing that juggernaut now based off of the ticket sales I've seen for that.
I don't know. I'm fresh off the trenches of trying to buy my Dune 3 tickets. It was rough. It was real rough.
Oh, I don't doubt that. But I'll tell you what, it was rough getting just regular tickets for Doomsday. I don't know if you got yours yet at this point, but yeah, at least in Orlando, everything is sold out for Doomsday. All RPX, ScreenX, 4DX, whatever else DX they've got.
And now are all of those Infinity Vision?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
But you know what? Dune is all I saw, because they did folks listening at home at the time of the release here. They've released all IMAX and 70 millimeter IMAX, but that's all they have is IMAX. But they've been saying it's like all IMAX and premium screen formats are on sale. When I'm like, oh, it's really just IMAX. Like that's all you have at this. Like that's it. And I bet what will happen again, because I know the Odyssey kind of had that same similar deal, even though I know it came out a week or two before Brand New Day, but they had that, like, we have a 1 month exclusive contract with IMAX, and then as soon as that was up, they switched it right over to Brand New Day real fast. So I wonder how exclusive that window is for Dune Part 3 to then immediately they'll be like, hey, we want that Marvel money too. Release, switch it to IMAX real quick, and then get some of that money in there. So I don't know how the gamble will ultimately work for both of them, but hey, I'm all pumped for Doomsday. I think it's going to be great. But back to the D23 conversation, they don't want to bury Starfighter amidst all of that. Like, one has to take the lead of, this is the big thing that we're pushing here. We want this to be the big takeaway. And they obviously had a big Marvel set up pavilion at D23 with the costumes and big TVA experience, tying in this whole multiverse aspect together, which then the finale of it was the Doom costume. So this is certainly the thing that they want, and it needs to be a success for them. It's like everything is riding on it for Marvel Studios at this point.
Was there anything that you saw while you were there, either in a panel or walking around the show floor, that gave you additional insight as to what we're going to get in Doomsday?
Well, so I will note that we know in the pavilion itself, they had some stuff there that I saw before the trailer that now added more context to it. So a Sentinel head was there, right? And,
oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, why is that there? Because I thought, okay, I've seen them in X-Men 97, And I think, oh, okay, well, maybe that's just a fun connecting note to that. Turns out, my gosh, Dr. Doom is courting an army of them pretty much at that point, based off of the end shot there of that new trailer. We saw the Mystique and Nightcrawler outfits. Those were the first that we saw, and then there were some more from the new Avengers team plus Shuri, the new Sam Wilson, Captain America, and then the last one that you would walk through was finally the Doom, who's on his like throne basically. That was seen in the trailer. It's the first shot of the new one. So I wouldn't say there's too much of it there. Honestly, it was probably a little more disappointing perhaps compared to the one that was 2 years ago, which had so much more in terms of costumes there, especially after Deadpool and that's when Deadpool and Wolverine came out, was 2 years ago. So they had all the spoiler costumes out, even though I hadn't seen the movie yet because of timing. So I definitely was like, oh, well, it'll be fun to see Gambit and Blade. Nice. Cool. Thanks, Disney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they are they're showing more restraint because they want to spare us of spoilers, which I would appreciate. I think trailers these days in general just show too much and give too much away. So bring back the mystery.
Look, it's going to be a 3-hour movie. We've seen roughly 2 minutes of footage from this thing. We're probably getting another trailer closer to release date. And we don't really know fully what's going to happen in this movie, but I'm excited for it. I think as I was just literally watching Doctor Strange, there was so many references to the multiverse in that movie that I'm like, oh, hey, like the seeds are being planted for Doomsday in this movie right now. And as they're playing with time and creating these branches just based off of what they're doing in this infinite multiverse here. And they're literally saying the magic that we do is pulling energy from the multiverse into what we're doing. And as soon as you start messing with stuff that's in different realities, it's already happening. So as people
but will Charlize Theron be there?
My guess is I don't know. Were you watching any like the San Diego Comic-Con coverage? Like, were you on Outfit Watch at the Marvel Pavilion there, where they had like the different witches?
Oh, right, yeah. Not in any way that I can comment on intelligently.
Okay, so I'll just.
I remember seeing stuff, but I couldn't tell you what. Probably.
So I'll just say for the speculation of it all, they had 3 different witch costumes on display throughout the entirety of the weekend in different colors. One was orange, one was purple, and one was green. And then they had the Doom costume at the end. Oh. So people were speculating.
Which witches they belong to?
They did not. And then they also had another character named Boris, which was seemingly a male figure with the helmet and all that stuff. So it seemed like Doom's lieutenant and then 3 witches, kind of similar to like a Children of Thanos kind of thing. So people have been speculating the purple one could be Clea from Charlize Theron's character. You know, it could be the green one could be Sylvie from Loki. And then the other speculation was perhaps the orange could be maybe Wanda.
It would have to be red.
I mean, it could have just been the lighting, right? Like,
oh, sure.
You know, could pure a burnt orange could be a red, depending on how the lighting is hitting it. But you know, good speculation, at least, that we haven't had for quite some time for a Marvel thing. And then maybe Boris is actually Doctor Strange. Like, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if the man that was like, I will let Thanos win in order for us to win 5 years from now kind of deal is willing to like be Doom's lieutenant if he's like, this is the only way for the world to survive in some capacity. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he bows down to him and he's like, well, this is what we need to do in order to like for the most good to happen afterwards. Like, hey, it's possible.
That broke my brain a little bit. I don't know. It could very easily just be this is a dumb joke. I'm sorry. An homage to Sleeping Beauty, because when you say 3 witches of different colors, that's what I think of the fairies that can't decide.
The fairy godmothers, yes,
yeah,
yes. Well, maybe if they're counseling Doom, that'd be kind of hysterical. As that's all happening. This is what
really happened to them after. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, totally. But hey, Is Jen on the hype train yet for Dune? Well,
I
obviously for
am-
Dune you are, but Doomsday.
Right. Yes. So I am. I think I told you this when we met up in person. I've stepped foot on the platform for the train. I'm not totally on the train yet, but I would say there's a huge difference in my anticipation of this movie between the two trailers that we've gotten. I think it was really smart of them to release this one, and and the main reason is it just feels like a much more coherent story that's being told, and Doom actually appears as a character that you know what I mean, as opposed to I don't want to say MacGuffin, but like a figure that we just kind of pulled out of a hat out of desperation.
I think
which is
MacGuffin
sort
was
of
the
where
right
I was
phrase
at.
there, actually.
Okay, yeah. The like, oh, Doom's here. What? Like, we haven't seen
he's
him
the Ark
in
of the
any
Covenant.
capacity before. Right. So I was really happy that the second trailer from that came out around during D23. Did they show it at D23?
They showed it there and then released it online at the same time.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was just Comic-Con and then the internet, or if D23 actually had a presentation as well. Okay, so I think it's a lot more focused. It actually feels like the characters that are in this movie are serving a purpose, whereas the first trailer felt just so not, I hate to say cash grabby or fan servicey, because I don't like that when those terms are used pejoratively when talking about franchise films, but like it really felt like fractured and disparate in a way that I was not okay with from a storytelling perspective. I'm like, okay, yes, I am excited and happy that all of these different characters that I enjoy are here in this trailer, but how is this all going to come together and how is this all going to work? Whereas the second trailer that focused more on Doom really made it feel like there's going to be a centralized, that the story of Doomsday will be the story of Victor Doom. In a way that I was not convinced would be the case before. And like, the idea that the Fantastic Four aren't just here because we had a Fantastic Four movie last summer, right? They're here because they know him as a character and can share that information with the other superheroes that are in the mix. So yeah, I'm inching towards the train. I'm almost there.
Yeah, I think if the Russo brothers are similar to what they'll have done in the past, especially with Thanos, I think that perhaps Doom will be the protagonist, perhaps, of the story. And from his point of view, might be trying to save things. But what's the cost of saving, right? Do we trade lives in order to save whatever we can of, however, what's happening, right? I think worlds are going to end. Few people are going to get off those planets as they happen. Who's jumping from world to world? It's all creating incursions by doing that. It's a messy concept to begin with, and I think Marvel's been releasing like these like compact, affordable runs of like some of their most famous stories, and the Secret Wars that this is based off of is getting that treatment. I think it comes out like today.
Oh, nice.
And people have been like the Russos did like the forward for it, and it's like maybe 5 pages of them going off on how awesome this is. So like after reading, because I read that before hopping on here, and it looked like these guys know what they're talking about. They know ball. So if this is their magnum opus, sign me up, and we'll see what happens with MCO after Secret Wars, wherever that leads us to. So obviously X-Men around the corner, announced at D23. That's a big one. As well as Ghost Rider announced at San Diego Comic-Con, and Black Panther 3 also coming around the corner as well.
Did you see, before we leave the Doomsday train station, did you see on Disney Plus, because I believe it was not there when I talked to you in person, there are, I think, 15 films that are now curated in a countdown to Doomsday. Yeah. Did you read into that at all in terms of why they chose those films?
I think it makes sense. I think they're missing a few, though. If you ask me, I feel like they skipped a few on that. I feel like the Marvels has to be there. That's like the biggest one that I would say, like, well, that doesn't make any sense because there's literally Monica meets the X-Men at the end of it. Like that post credit alone is pretty important, if you ask me.
We still never got Harry Styles, so I think they could. They are.
Well,
they
that's less important, I bet.
Right, but my point is that they're more than willing to just drop things
Well,
if they
Hulk's
feel like
son
it, you know?
too, right? He's out there.
Right.
Yeah, who knows?
There's plenty of things that they suggested and hinted at that we still have yet to see come to fruition. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, well, the internet really kind of got angry about Carol Danvers, so maybe we should just forget about her. Which would be egregious and sad. Yeah. To be clear, I do not want that. I would love to see the Marvels in the mix. I'd love Flurkins. Give me Flurkins. I'll be happy. You know, those were great. So, but my point is that, like, I think that list kind of tells us a lot about who's going to show up and be important and play an important role in the film. Yeah,
they're like, this is the bare minimum that you need to get.
I mean, Shang-Chi's on there.
Shang-Chi is important, right? Multiverse of Madness is important as well. Maybe you don't need to watch Hawkeye to get there, which is ultimately what I think people needed to see. And interesting that X-Men 1 and 2 from the Fox days are on there.
Well, we've already seen that there are cast members from those movies in this one.
Sure, yeah. And that's exactly, well, I guess the thing that I'm thinking is, like, is that universe's storyline that's getting pulled into this? Or is it just, hey, those characters were in those movies, get ready to see them in Avengers Doomsday with those actors returning again? I guess that's the question that my brain has on that one. Because we know, obviously, it's been 20 years, folks, so X-Men The Last Stand is kind of they don't include that one for some reason on here. They don't include Days of Future Past. They don't include, like, a Logan, but they do include a Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'm like, all right, well, what's important, what's not important? It's just, it all really, what does it matter? But I think it's a really telling thing. Also, there's no extra Spider-Man on there, right? It's just No Way Home. So to me, it was like the multiverse plot line that seemed to be a lot the thread that might be justifying a lot of these items on the list. So, like, Loki. Yeah, absolutely. Loki's important. And sorry, I just had to Google the list. I have it from me. Loki, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness stuck out to me of, like, oh, well, we need to watch those films to understand the multiverse and the incursion. The concept of it all. Yeah. Yeah. And whereas some of the other ones, I agree, probably are like, oh, like, do you want to know the backstory of this character who's going to be play a major role in this film? Like, you should go watch this. Well, I think Deadpool and Wolverine 2 introduces the anchor being concept for that, so I think that's important for just the multiverse. And then Franklin, but it also could just be like, why is Gambit here? Yeah, well, that too. Why? So why? It's interesting. It's interesting the degree to which these films are important, or why they've chosen to put so. I like speculating about. They really wanted just X1 and X2, so that you didn't get to X3 and see that Kelsey Grammer is actually in makeup versus a CGI beast. So they could say, like, hey, it's actually a different offshoot. We don't count the third one. This is a different timeline for that. They wear the outfits in these X-Men films, hence why they're wearing perhaps the more comic accurate outfits, and Magneto having longer hair that we see in the trailer. Anywho, it's all on the table. It'll be a good time. Maybe again, we'll see Patrick Stewart perhaps die again in this for the third, fourth. Be 4 times then? 4 times, technically. Yep. Ugh. Yep. I mean, that first one was kind of a cop-out in X3, The Last Stand, where he, like, shoots in a Palpatine-esque way his consciousness into his dying brother. At the end of the movie. I forgot about that. So then that's how he comes back for the Wolverine when he pops up in the end credit scene for that. And then Days of Future Past. Like, hey, wish that one would have been included. That's a great X-Men film. Probably, maybe the best aside from Logan. But D23 really wanted us to think about new, fresh, young X-Men. They did. That seemed to be the big takeaway in the announcements. They did. So it's seemingly like, Channing Tatum's Gambit will not be making the next roster of X-Men. Great cast, though, I will say. I know I was texting the group about as they were coming out, and it's a great array of new up-and-coming actors in Hollywood, with a returning Star Wars friend, Adam Driver, coming back as Mr. Sinister, which I thought was a really great casting for that, and could be potentially the setup of a big bad for many films down the line too, not just a one-off throwaway character. Like he could theoretically be a big saga-esque villain of sorts if they don't want to go into like the Dark Phoenix or Apocalypse kind of thing that's been already out there in the X-Men world. But also no Magneto casting yet that we're at this point. So that's kind of the next domino to follow, is who are some of these other ancillary characters that'll be mounting the X-Men Mount Rushmore of sorts, I guess. Yeah.
Was there a casting announcement from that group that you were the most excited about? Is it Adam Driver?
He was the most surprising. I wouldn't say he was the one I was most excited for. I think Obsession heads will be quick to note what's her name?
Indy Navarrete.
Indy Navarrete. Yes. I was like, Inga? I can't remember if it was Indy or Inga. Indy Navarrete as Rogue is probably the most timely casting, right? Because like if Obsession doesn't come out and it's not so successful, I doubt she's cast. Like if it's just the $500,000 film that it was made for and then makes $20 at the box office, forgotten. Never talked about again, and goes off into obscurity making indie films for the rest of her days. But because of the success of that, it's fun to see like, hey, I'm getting that bag, I'm getting that Marvel money, I'm getting some IP, I'm going to Comic-Cons the rest of my life and taking pictures and having sustainable income. So I thought that was really, first off, just a great actress from the film. Excited to see what she'll do in the film. And, really interesting to see how they'll bounce off the rest of the cast, which, again, is a young, fresh group of up-and-comers. Sadie Sink joining that crew as well, and Kit Connors playing Cyclops. And crazy to think that Samara Weaving is, like, one of the older ones of the group at this point, even though she's still very, very, very young actress at this point in Hollywood. Also related to Hugo Weaving, I guess, too. So fun.
I did not know
connection there. I never put two and two together as well in that one. But hey, it works. So yeah, as Emma Frost, she'll be in the movie as well, and all announced at the stage here. So great stuff across the board. Excited for Marvel and all of that, and some great, obviously incredible stuff there. So yeah, if nothing else, people should be thrilled, and theater executives should be thrilled that Disney was like, hey, we're pumping out the theatrical game here. Obviously, some stuff for Disney Plus was announced there. Obviously, the Oswald series that Jon Favreau is doing for them. But a lot of theatrical. That was kind of the big takeaway, I would say, from this was get it in theaters and enjoy it, and let's make some money on it before it goes to Disney Plus and your Blu-rays.
Were there any hints that the streaming series, and not just for like Marvel or Star Wars, but just across the, like, you know what I mean? Like, was there a hint that they are now pulling that back?
If they didn't at least say it outright, the announcements indicated that to me.
Right. It's implicit because they are emphasizing film so much.
And the things that were showcased have already been announced and have been in development for a couple of years. It wasn't like they just came out and said, and we're doing a new Disney Plus show. Mm-hmm. Everything was theatrical that was getting new and announced, right? Oh, the new Disney animated film. Oh, the new Pixar animated film, Ghost Walker, or whatever it's called. Ghost Machine, maybe. Like that's what they were focusing on. Hey, we're spending our money on theatrical big releases. We'll make our money there because, frankly, you don't make money on on streaming. It's kind of just they have the subscriptions and that's what they make for it. And then the advertisements if you're on a lower tier as well. But beyond that, that's kind of it. And then they have a bucket of money that they know is coming from in those subscriptions, but there's really no ROI on just throwing stuff on there and saying like, well, we've got that. So I guess the idea is we'll spend stuff in the theaters and then it's going to get dumped on Disney Plus afterwards anyways. So we might as well make $2 in the theater before it gets put on the platform. And then we keep the people happy with going here for their blockbuster experience basically versus going out into the world and renting it. So that was, I would say, the big takeaway, at least at this point. We may be seeing the end of what this last maybe 2019 through 2025 of era was, which was, hey, throw spaghetti against the wall. Let's see if these streaming platforms build these massive audiences to compete with Netflix, which I don't think any of them seem to have done, if you ask me. at least not successfully. I think they all thought that we have these IPs and Netflix doesn't, but Netflix just had cultural muscle memory at that point. You know, like people will just like automatically were like, oh, I'm going to go home and watch Netflix, and then turn on Netflix and watch the same seasons of Gilmore Girls over and over again, versus getting Disney Plus and then watching the stuff. I guess they've learned that unless you're a massive fan of those things, people aren't just hopping on for the thrill of it all. They're not just jumping into Loki season 2 just because it's Marvel and wanted to keep up with it. Yeah, it's interesting. But
yeah, I had seen a lot of people on the internet almost mourning the death of the Disney Plus series, and I was like, wait, did I miss an announcement that they officially said they're all canceled, or like they're not doing anymore? So it's good to hear that they left that door open, but that people kind of inferred that this was the end of the line for those shows. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because to think about it as kind of a corporate course correction, that's what it feels like to me, that like their Disney's strategy for so long was like, well, we got to push Disney Plus. We got, like you're saying, we got to compete with Netflix.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people think of, and this is not an original take. I've definitely heard lots of other critics and podcasters say this, but that Netflix, consumers consider Netflix a utility. They consider Disney Plus and a lot of other streaming platforms a library, right? That supplements something that they already have. So
they were never able to cross that boundary, unfortunately. Which I would argue like, hey, Disney Plus is a fantastic streaming platform. They've really done a great job with a lot of original programming on there, which just hasn't really hit that zeitgeist in the way that they've all been shooting for that white whale of like that Stranger Things kind of experience. Yeah. Which even that, right? Was released, the last episode was released in the theaters and only made like 30 million during that time frame because people were like, hey, I can just watch it at home. So these things that they've tried to move from a Mandalorian and Grogu to the cinema, it's hard to get people to go to something when they've been like, well, I've just seen that on my TV screen, so why would I go drive to the movie theater, pay $100 for at least my family of 4 to go there, and that's just tickets. Let's add in popcorn and other snacks on top of that. We're looking at $150 for this. Let me just go home and pay the, $20 a month it is now for Disney Plus if you're not on an ad tier kind of thing, to enjoy it. So, hey, it's a changing industry, and obviously the economics are more a part of this now than ever as the K-shape economy starts hitting all of us more and more each and every day. So, the film industry is definitely at a nexus point to add more multiverse concepts into this thing. But overall, I would say D23 has been a spectacular convention. And just to quickly wrap up a lot of the announcements that was made, particularly for Star Wars here. So there was official confirmation that The Mandalorian and Grogu will be out on Disney Plus on September 2nd. As well as on September 2nd, the Lego Star Wars The Mandalorian special will be available on Disney Plus. And there was a trailer revealed for that. Plus, those at the Lucasfilm Pavilion got to see the first 5 minutes. And later at D23, people got to see the full special at a special screening. And then later in the weekend, we also got the confirmation that Maul Shadow Lord Season 2 will officially be coming out in 2027 as well. So if you're keeping tabs at home, 2027 is seemingly going to be a really impressive year for the Star Wars brand. 50th anniversary, obviously, they have to go big for this kind of thing. So that includes Star Wars The Experience at the Franklin Institute, that big museum interactive immersive experience that they had some stuff on display, and plus a panel at D23 for that. Really excited for that. And that will debut in February in Philadelphia and then go travel the country for, I think, the next 5 years, they said. There will be obviously the 50th anniversary re-release of A New Hope in theaters in February. In January, Ahsoka Season 2 comes out. Maul Shadow Lord Season 2 at some point in 2027. Probably I would gander that September-ish kind of range, just because a thing called Star Wars Starfighter comes out in May.
Oh, right.
I don't think they want things butting up against each other the way that they once did. Plus Star Wars Celebration.
Mando and Grogu came out in May, and Maul Shadow Lord, right?
That's true. It did. And well, maybe because of that, they were like, hey, Mando Grogu didn't knock off the box. I mean, it just depends. Are they going to film it in a way that, or animate, I guess, because they did the 2-episode drops at a time. Does this season 2 make sense to do that in the same vein? Are they writing it in the same way? I'm sure there's a lot more conversations they're having about this. So maybe you're right. But do they also want to front load everything in the first half of the year? Do they want some scraps for later in the year, perhaps? Because looking beyond Starfighter in that May space, there might not be anything else in Star Wars. Maybe they just did everything at the front half of 2027 and said, hey, go watch Star Wars on Disney Plus. Go catch up on things. But also Celebration in LA will be in April as well, as a primer for all that. And then, that wild card of where Maul Shadowlord comes out. So there's a lot of Star Wars coming in 2027. And Jen, what do you think? What are you most looking forward to, knowing all of that is coming out in the next couple of months here, starting in January with Ahsoka Season 2?
Oh, that's a cruel question, Anthony.
But with no wrong answer.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think in my heart, it's probably Ahsoka Season 2, just because I love Ahsoka so much. And even though Season 1 did have its issues, which we won't get into right now, I'm sure there's like 5 other podcast episodes that I've been on across various shows that explain that in some way. But to me, the magic of kind of the fantasy elements of the Star Wars galaxy with the Dathomiri witches, and it had a mysticism that I feel like I hadn't really been saturated in for a minute in terms of Star Wars properties. And so there was a mood and a feeling that first season really captured for me, that is enough, that despite some of the issues, especially with kind of like the finale and the pacing and the episodes and stuff, like it made me forgive a lot and still look forward to this Season 2. And so that in my heart of hearts, that's probably my answer. But I think if I'm putting my franchise brain on and my long take review brain, I would probably say Starfighter, because again, as I mentioned earlier, it has the most potential to push Star Wars in a new direction.
It does.
And I think that's exciting. It's exciting for fans. It's exciting for storytellers in the future who might be working with Star Wars. And again, it's like it's because I know the least about it, it is the most exciting, because it could right now we're just in possibility land.
True.
And that's really fun. So that would be, I think, the biggest gamble, and the stakes are the highest for Starfighter.
I would agree. It really is like, is there an interest in new Star Wars stories that aren't connected to an episode 10, 11, 12 at this point? Or as far as we know, there's no lightsaber in this. Or maybe there was a lightsaber. I don't know. We'll have to see exactly what comes out in theaters later this next year. And it could be a bridge gap, right? Because it's set 5 years roughly after the events of Rise of Skywalker. Could it be the bridge to the Rey movie that's been talked about for years now? Could it be the bridge to perhaps an episode 10 that I think Simon Kinberg is working on right now, perhaps? Fresh stories all around for Star Wars, but I think it'll be the gauge point of, hey, is there the appetite for this? We've got the new bosses in charge. They kind of inherited this movie. So does Dave Filoni want to keep doing the stuff that's been previously announced? Who knows? Does he want to do another season of Mandalorian? Does Mandalorian go back to streaming? Or does it become a theatrical release again, and they try to starve the audience that wasn't having it on Disney Plus, and maybe the next time it'll be more successful at the box office? I don't know. Maybe Star Wars is a December franchise from now on. That could be another thing to add to the mix, because the summer season is so much in flux with everything, at least in the early months. Every week is a new blockbuster that's trying to grab a piece of the pie to become that next billion-dollar franchise. And only like 1 or 2 a summer can actually achieve it. I think we achieved that more this year with at least Toy Story 5, Michael, of course, 2 earlier in the year. And then Brand New Day and The Odyssey. But and I think maybe one film called Doomsday later this year might help with that. But there are also a lot of flops throughout the summer that are overshadowed a bit by these later successes in the industry, right? I think a Masters of the Universe is looked at, a Supergirl is looked at as being these kind of bigger flops. Definitely, I think you could say Mandalorian Grogu underperformed is probably the term that they would use. It wasn't a total flop, but definitely not the success that they were hoping for it to be. So there'll be a lot of eyes on this, especially as it's coming out at that 50th anniversary release date. May 4th will probably be a big celebration of Star Wars as well. And then the re-release of A New Hope in theaters, which is the 1977 theatrical cut, apparently. Maybe. I don't know. That's what they keep saying it, but it could be the 81 re-release that says A New Hope at the beginning.
I say release them all.
Release them all.
The more excuses Greg Cass has to go to a theater, he'll take it. You know,
every week is a new version.
Let's test him. Let's have all the versions out and see how many times he goes to see each. Will he see each of them 50 times?
I guess, yeah, that's the question. Will he actually do 50 screenings of A New Hope in the 50th anniversary year? Because I know he's been doing that for 25 of The Phantom Menace, but that feels more manageable than 50. That's a lot. And I know he watches a lot of movies, but 50 is a lot. 50 is a lot.
So I want to point out, because you're kind of ruminating about the future, and so with the future of Star Wars specifically, I thought it was really interesting what Dave Filoni said on the World Builders panel, which is streaming.
Yes,
I don't know how long it will be there. It's streaming on Disney Plus, and actually, friend of the show, Mary Purdue, has been going around telling everyone to go watch it because it's really
I
really
watched it. Did you watch it yet?
I did watch it. It's great.
It's really good. And to have those people on stage at the same time is really unheard of. Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau, Jared Bush, Pete Docter, Dave Filoni.
How did their schedules allow for that? There's a group of assistants somewhere who just passed out because they're like, how did we make this happen?
Yeah.
You know, and how do we get them all in the same room? But Dave Filoni specifically when I think the question was something about what does the future hold? Kind of. It was a very broad question about the future of the industry, the future of Disney, like that kind of thing, I think. And his response was, the way people consume stories now has already changed a lot and is continuing to change. And so how can we think about that, the way people consume their stories, and not just in the traditional modes? And how can we take that into account when we're thinking about how to tell these bigger stories?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really exciting, but also kind of ominous, because I was like, wait, are we just talking about video games? Are we what does that mean, Dave Filoni? But the fact that he's thinking that broadly and in that bigger picture, to me it comforted me a little bit, I guess, and piqued my interest to be like, well, is there something that no one has even thought of that somehow Star Wars is going to manifest, and that's exciting.
It's all just more Fortnite collaborations.
Well, I hoped it wasn't just that, because that's the example they used, I think, right? When they were talking about, here's how we've kind of integrated the IP in different places and stuff like that. But the idea of true transmedia storytelling, because we have yet to have that really, right? Even if we take Star Wars, for example, we're always having to dance around, oh, the comics made this happen, but technically if it happens in a film or a TV show,
we'll override it.
That overrides it. Right. And so there's this kind of weird tension between the different ways in which we consume these stories. And so the idea of them all being fully interconnected and contiguous, first of all, it sounds impossible, but would be cool if we could get it to work, I think.
I agree. I think it would be great. I think it would fulfill the dream that Kathleen Kennedy once had in 2014 when she's like, it's all connected. Right. And then as storytellers start crafting stories and things change over time, that idea kind of muddles a little bit. It looks a little more difficult all these years later. So who knows? The sky's the limit. Obviously, new technologies that they're more privy to than we are being developed as they speak. So I'm excited. 27 for Star Wars Celebration. Dave and Linwin Brennan's first celebration as co-CEOs of Lucasfilm is going to be really telling, because we're going to see what their vision is for the future. All we have is Starfighter on the books in terms of theatrics, and then beyond Ahsoka season 2 is we don't know anything else for live action Disney Plus, and then just Maul Shadowlord. It's kind of in that Filoni space too, so I doubt that's getting canceled anytime soon. So we'll see what all this is, what their plan is. That's kind of what they'll have to unveil. I imagine they'll have some big panel that's like the future of Star Wars, basically. And aside from one talking about Starfighter, which I imagine will be the big push, but they'll have to give some updates on what else they're doing. So it'll be intriguing for sure. But we got a little bit of insight into that at D23 here. And Jen, is my last question to you here. Theoretically, they do these every 2 years now, maybe 28. I don't know. August 28 is also Olympics time in LA. So I don't know if that will be feasible for them to do it in August. So maybe they'll do it before or after. Maybe 28. Maybe they'll push it to 29 just for the timing. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Are you going to go to the next D23, Jen?
Well, if it's possible, I'd love to. I think your coverage of it definitely made me jealous for not having gone. And it was maybe 40 minutes from my house, and and I didn't manage to go. And so, if it's in the cards, I would absolutely love to go. Just like all your videos showing all the costumes and the props and the displays. I could have seen Rada the Hutt.
Yep, little both big and small.
Right, the Huttlet and the full Hutt.
He's his own man.
It's so great. I'm sad I missed out on all that. So I think if I can make it happen, I'd love to go. But you made it too easy to. Maybe you're like the Disney Plus of social media coverage. Like I was like, I don't need to go. And Anthony covered everything for me, and I can watch it from my phone.
Anthony took one for the team, and is providing good enough coverage for all of us that aren't here.
So thank you for doing that, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
My pleasure. I'm happy to do it. And Lucasfilm compensated me with a nice Hayden Christensen signed poster. So I will take the win. Yes. Yeah. I was like, Jen, you should have come on Sunday. Because I know you were speculating on it, and that's when I got it.
Was it in the morning? Because that's what's going to kill me. Because like if I it would have been logistically complicated, but I could have come first thing in the morning.
Yeah, it was in the morning.
Oh man! But they gave it to you because they had seen your face so many times.
That's true.
Correct?
Yes, that was
me just showing up on the day wouldn't have done anything. They've been like, "Who is this?"
That's true, but you would have gotten a poster though. They were handing them out like flies there, so you would have at least been able to put it in your office. Yep. Plus the Maul one too, as well, because they gave one for the Maul Shadowlord as well. Which obviously, if folks can't see, but you're wearing a shirt. You like the show. Unless you just bought it before the show.
Answering your earlier question while and not mentioning Maul Shadowlord while wearing a Maul Shadowlord shirt. That's why I said it was a cruel question, because I wanted to answer everything.
Well, cruel questions indeed. But you could have said everything. That would have been a perfectly acceptable answer. But it's more juicy to just pick one, and then we can say, well, Jen didn't pick New Hope re-release. Does she really like Star Wars? Anywho, we've had a great chat here recapping D23. There's so much more, folks, about the convention there. So go check all the social channels for more insights and stories and videos from what actually took place on the show floor for all the individual panels, which went in depth into the making of things like Ahsoka, the Mandalorian and Grogu, and Maul Shadowlord. But Jen, where can the folks find you if they want to continue the conversation and or keep up with all the cool stuff you're doing at the Long Take Review?
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for having me on. This was super fun and a great follow-up to our conversation that we had in Anaheim, which was, as I'll say it again, was great. And the Long Take Review is wherever you get any of your podcasts, you will find us. I host the show on my Substack, thelongtake.substack.com. If I have time to write written reviews, so I do have, I want to say for at least all but the finale, I think I had Maul Shadowlord reviews of each 2-episode drop. So sometimes I have written reviews when I have time, and especially I try to make sure when there's new Star Wars that I'm writing something and posting something on there. But for the Long Take Review, we are a weekly podcast, and our latest episode, by the time this episode drops, will be our review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Nice. And that's actually a fun tie-in to our conversation now, because I think we spent, first of all, in retrospect, we spent way too much time talking about X-Men in relation, I'll be very vague, X-Men in relationship to Spider-Man. probably more than Spider-Man himself, which maybe
it's kind
is
of
a problem.
important for the movie.
But we did spend probably a good 15 minutes or so riffing on the future of X-Men, the new casting announcement coming out of D23, because we recorded, I think, on Monday as you were
fresh.
flying home, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can look forward to, you can go find that in our feed. We also have 2 episodes covering the Odyssey, and I think we're going to be doing it's Fall Film Festival season starting up soon, so we're going to be doing all the prestige Oscar baity movies.
The good stuff
coming up soon. Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. I can't wait. Blockbuster season ends, and then it's fresh into the Oscar race. It's and we're not even at the wonderful Golden Globes yet to kick us off. Or maybe is it Critics' Choice maybe this year again too? Have they flipped it around?
Oh, I don't know if they've announced the dates for those yet.
Ooh.
But last year was kind of an upset because Critics' Choice aired before Golden Globes, and that doesn't usually happen. So
it ruined everything.
We'll see. Yeah, I was going to say earlier that the Ahsoka moving to January 20th I was a little crestfallen because that's the height of Oscar season.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oscar nominations come out like a few days before that, probably, and between that and trying to write reviews weekly of Ahsoka season 2, I'm like, it's gonna kill me probably, but that's okay. It'll be worth it.
And you're like, it couldn't have been over winter break.
Yeah, I was like, any other time, literally in the year, and it would have been easier than January.
Give me some more space, guys. I gotta write about Ahsoka and talk about Fjord at the same time. It's too much. Can't. But it's a good problem to have, right? With great stories, and who knows what'll be the sleeper hits this year. Who wins Golden Globes is rarely the person that wins an Oscar, as I've come to know over the years, right? Who are those front runners? Can they sustain the long haul? Can they go to those luncheons? Can they do the handshakes? And do they say something stupid on the press tour along the way? It's fascinating, right? An Amelia Perez looks like it's going to sweep everything, and then a couple tweets come out, and then that film is blacklisted, never talked about again. It's amazing that Zoe Saldana still keeps the award through all of that. Timmy seems like he's destined to win for Marty Supreme, and then Michael B. Jordan wins a few by the end, and that's forgotten Marty Supreme. Fascinating. It's truly a slog.
The ups and downs of Oscar season. Yeah, the question right now for Oscar nerds is, can Matt Damon make it all the way? Can he sustain the entirety of Oscar season? And what will Tom Cruise be doing? What wacky stunts will Tom Cruise be pulling?
Or
and
Sebastian Stan?
Will Digger actually be good? I have questions about that.
Well, that's a bigger question. Yeah, will Digger be good? That's the first and foremost what we need to have. But one could argue quality of a Bohemian Rhapsody is not up to snuff, but Rami Malek still wins and it gets the Best Picture nod. So hard to say, does something just win out just because people want it to win?
Well, anything can happen, and we'll be there. Whatever happens, the long take review will be there.
Lots of great episodes and lots of texts of me bugging Jen. Hey, where's the BAFTA list so I can keep score? And Jen's like, we don't usually do the BAFTAs, but
you're
sure.
the only one asking for that. I'm just going to say,
I'll put together
and I love
minutes.
you for it.
I was like, Jen, Critics' Choices tonight. How am I going to keep track? And you're like, well, we don't do that. And then of course Golden Globes too. I'm like, Jen, there's a TV side to this. I'm watching all night long. And you're like, well, I guess I'll throw it together too. Here you go. Merry Christmas.
You've definitely forced me to up my game in Canva. I'll just say that.
That's right. I give Jen more homework than hopefully she provides to her students at that time of year. Well, folks, this has been a blast, and thanks to Jen for being on the show. We'll be back next week, I think, talking about that new series that came out, The Ninth Jedi. So we'll finally dive into that after some long D23 conversations here, but it's all wonderful stuff. Lots to talk about here. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage over the last couple of weeks here. And we'll be at New York Comic Con in just a few more weeks, too. So be on the lookout for more boots on the ground coverage from conventions as we go headlong right into that big 2027 for Star Wars. Lots to talk about, lot to enjoy and digest over the coming weeks. But until then, may the Force be with you. Take care.